I seen a quote a little while ago that said, if you don't sacrifice for what you want will become the sacrifice. And also, when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, there's a kind of like a method or what they spoke about in the book about paying yourself first. So in today's video, I want to talk about making sacrifices for your goals, your dreams in life, whatever it may be, and also paying yourself first, not in terms of money, but maybe in terms of time and just freedom to do what you want to do in life. And so if you've not read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I highly recommend the book. Again, a lot of it is about money and, there's a few good stories in there about how to make money. But in terms of paying yourself first, when I first read it, I obviously understood it. But then as time's gone on, I've kind of thought, you know what, that works not just for money, but also for time yourself. So the whole point of it is, in the book, when you get paid, use however much you want to spend on you. So say like you get £1,000 a month, let's say, and you want £500 to spend on whatever you want. And obviously that's £500 left over, and your bills come to 600. Worry about getting an extra 100 to pay the bills later. Pay yourself first, enjoy yourself first, and then also try and find a way to make that extra £100 to make ends meet, because you will find a way to do it. But paying yourself first, sort of enjoying yourself, not enjoying yourself, living it up, but you get my point. But that kind of works in the same way in life when, you want to build a side hustle, you want to learn a new skill, you want to learn a new language, you want to find a relationship, you want to meet new friends, whatever it is, there's going to have to be some sort of sacrifice. You're going to have to give something up. And paying yourself first, I think, works in terms of the fact of, you know what, I want to start a side hustle. That requires me to have 2 hours in an evening to try and build it. What do I have to sacrifice? Time. So am I willing to do the trade-off? Am I willing to trade off 2 hours per evening to build a side hustle? More than likely, yes. And as time goes on, you might have to sacrifice 3 hours in the evening, 1 hour in the morning, and then along the way you might have to sacrifice some money. So let's say £50, upgrade some equipment, maybe £100, £200, and as time goes on, you're going to have to make these sacrifices to get to where you want to be. And if you don't make that sacrifice, for example, if I don't want to spend 2 hours in the evening on this side hustle, on learning a new skill, on meeting up with someone for a relationship, whether it be friends or whatever, then that thing will never come to be. That thing will never happen, And it is hard sometimes making a sacrifice, and trying to determine how much you can sacrifice is difficult as well. In the beginning, you're kind of happy just to sacrifice maybe half an hour, 1 hour, or if it's money, maybe sacrifice £20, depending on what your income is and what you've got spare. So, paying yourself first sometimes isn't always about money. Sometimes, a lot of time, it's about time. Just for me in general, I've had to make a lot of sacrifices, not like major ones, life-changing sacrifices, but to get to where I was on the last YouTube channel, 80k subs, working full-time, I had to sacrifice by getting up, again, not on about saying it's the end of the world, this is a big massive thing, not bigging it up, I'm just saying, I sacrificed getting up an hour before work. When I got home from work, 3 hours then recording, cutting it down, sending it to an editor, getting up before work, sending it to an editor, to a thumbnail designer, all these kind of things. And there was other people making the same videos who didn't have a job, who didn't have to sacrifice anything. I had to do all this and work a full-time job, bring up a family, relationships, family, other commitments going on. And you might think to yourself, well, it's not fair. I've got to sacrifice X, Y, and Z to, I've got to work full time, plus do this when I finish work, plus do this before work, whereas other people stroll out of bed, wake up, do whatever, go back. Again, we're all in different circumstances, but unfortunately, that was the sacrifice I had to make, and it was either I make it and grow the channel to 80k subs eventually, it wasn't an overnight thing, by the way, it took a good 2-3 years, or I don't make the sacrifice and it never happens, it never was a thing in the first place. And again, the same could go for money. Say I want to get a job tomorrow at British Aerospace, and I need to learn how to be something to do with cybersecurity or data analysis or business analysis. I'd have to learn the tools and equipment that they use, the programs they use on the computer to do that job. Now, do I want to sacrifice 2 hours every night learning coding or cybersecurity? No? Okay, so I'll never get the job. There'll be some training on the job, of course there will, but to get your foot in the door in certain things, to get doing it, I'm going to have to sacrifice something. You know, and a lot of the time we don't want to make sacrifices. We kind of want it given to us free on a plate. Or, for example, you know what? I don't want to work anymore. I just want to switch jobs to this job. You know, say if you're a manager at a bank, next day you want to be a doctor. You want to be able to walk out of that job, go into a doctor, same pay, same everything. You don't want to sacrifice any pay. You don't want to be any worse off. You want to be exactly the same, if anything better. We just want to switch jobs like that without sacrificing anything. And a lot of us have to sacrifice something, and that's where the suffering comes into, and that's where a lot of people get put off by it. Because if I'm the banker, that means I'm going to have to study to become the doctor. I'm going to have to study. I'm going to have to do my banking job and study to do that. You know, and unfortunately in life, that is something that we just have to get over, you know. And so just going back to the bit then about Rich Dad Poor Dad, about paying yourself first, forget the money side of it. I just mean in terms of time. Say if tomorrow you want to start a side hustle, you know what, I'm going to start selling shoes, which I've done before online. I know where to buy them, I know how to sell them, I know how to post them, all that. I know how to do all that. But that means I have to sacrifice seeing my friends every night, or I might have to sacrifice spending a little bit less time with them, or I might have to sacrifice 20, 30 pounds, whatever it may be. I'm going to have to sacrifice, but do it, because you might never get the chance to ever do it again. And you know what? If it means seeing your friends 50% less per week, there's going to have to be some trade-off. Now, again, friends is just one example. It could be other things. You might have to work less hours at work. If I need to make this work, instead of doing 45 hours a week, I might have to do only 40. But do it for a little bit. Sacrifice that 5 hours. Sacrifice that little bit of pay. If you can, of course. I'm not just saying go blindly. But you're going to have to maybe do that at some point. Again, when I was trying to run my YouTube channel, and I was uploading every day, and the standards and the quality was getting better every single day, I got to the point where instead of doing 7 till 4, I was probably having to do 7 till 2. Because me leaving 2 hours earlier allowed me to spend 2 hours more on making videos every single day to keep my standards, keep my quality as high as everyone else. You know, because the world doesn't just stop for me. You know, everyone else making YouTube content don't go, oh, well, you only spend 20 minutes, so I'm going to spend 20 minutes. Everyone else will try and upgrade and improve with the time they've got, and not everyone has equal amount of time. We either try and make it, or we, you know, find a way to sacrifice and make more time for it. But a lot of the time, you then weigh it up. Is the sacrifice worth it? Is the sacrifice not worth it? And no one will ever know the answer. But going forward, just try and think a little bit more about paying yourself first. What you want to achieve in life, what you want to do. If there's other areas that, you know, have to take a sort of downturn, a downfall, so be it. You only get to live this life once. So if you want to live it and do what you want to do, whether it be a banker, doctor, sell shoes, sell clothes, sell plants, be a gardener, you've got to sacrifice 2 hours, and that means seeing family less, seeing friends less, or spending a little bit of your wage on something. You'll never know unless you make the sacrifice.